So for body fonts should be somewhere in between, for digital pieces, somewhere in between 16 and 18 pixels. Any smaller would be really hard to read, and any bigger might get a little crowded. If you have enough space in your design, you could bump it up to like 21 pixels max. But again, you want to utilize white space. You want to let your designs breathe. You want to be able to separate visual units so they don't look just like a big mess. So for body fonts, between 16 and 18 pixels, great, somewhere in there. For headers should be roughly 2 or 3 times larger than your body font. You can try going a little bigger, but again, don't overcrowd the design. I like to use really big headers when I have space for it. But as a rule of thumb, your header should be about 2 or 3 times the size of your body font. So if your body font is 16 pixels, 16 times 2 is, I don't know what that is. What 16 times 2 is 32. 32? Yeah, it's 30. All right, I'm good. I'm really bad at math. So a header, like at minimum, should be like 32 pixels. For your subheaders should be a tad smaller than your header. Alex on our team just gave me a download with a crying face because I'm really bad at math. I did it to myself trying to do math on a live call, so I apologize. But your subheaders should be a tad smaller than your header and should include a few tweaks of some sort to add some contrast between your header and your subheader. So whether that's a different font style or maybe a different weight to the font, it should be slightly smaller than your header and have some visual distinction between the two so it doesn't look like they're all together. And then your titles, statements, or text as graphics, kind of like the Apex agency that we looked at. There's not really any guidelines for this, except, you guessed it, don't overcrowd the design. They are great for adding contrast, for adding focal points on the page, but just make sure you're still utilizing your white space, your design stays clean and easy to follow. So with spacing, you want to utilize visual proximity while ensuring text is still very readable. For example, for large types like titles, headers, etc., you can use less line spacing, but it's a really good idea to never use the amount of spacing that is less than the value of your font. So if you're using a header that is like 55 pixels, your line spacing should be no less than 55 pixels. More is always better in some cases, but never go less. So here's a little piece that kind of puts it all together. And here's how I've spaced everything out. So our huge, large statement here, right? This is the focal point. It's a large statement, 73 pixels, and my line spacing between them is slightly larger than the font size at 78 pixels here. And then we come over here to my body text. If we look at the body first, this is 18 pixels, and the spacing between them is 27 pixels, which is 1.5 times the size of body text. I actually forgot to include a slide somewhere. Oh, here it is. I was like, gee, I think we skipped over this one. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. So this is a good rule of thumb on line spacing, right? Not enough line spacing, it's going to smash together. It's going to be really hard to read. Too much line spacing will make your text look spread out. It's going to be a little awkward and a little bit unpolished. You don't know what is associated with what. But a good rule of thumb, as I just alluded to by skipping this slide, is that the spacing of your body text should at least be 1.5 times the size of your font. For example, I use an 18-point body font here, and my line spacing is 27 pixels, which is 1.5 times the body size. Wow, sorry for that, a little bit of confusion. And then my spacing between my header area and my body font is double with 36 pixels. And then between my header and my subheader, I use the same as the body font, which is 18 pixels. And then as you can see here, my header is 36 pixels, which is 2 times the size of the body font. This is a little bit smaller. I use some visual tweaks to differentiate the two. There you go. Everything we covered kind of wrapped up into one slide. So if you're just like, I don't even know where to start, you can always come back to this slide and see how we did things.